What do you mean? Can everyone hear me? So hi everyone. When I say the word culture, what comes into your mind? Like, what do you think of? Brendan, what do you think of when I say that? No, but what culture do you think of? Australian culture. Alex, what culture do you think of? Australian. Meryl, you? Indian. So, as you can see, like, when I say the word culture, most of you didn't think of your own culture, which is perfectly fine and reasonable. But before we go any further, what is culture? Well, culture is defined as a set of beliefs, behaviors, values, or language of a certain population. A culture is more than a race, and you can belong to more than one culture. For example, a Christian in Africa and a Christian in England, though they may be ethnically different, share the same culture, their religion. So now we've gotten that out of the way, let me try and explain what we're talking about today. So just pretend everyone here is a fish, and you're happy fish, and you're swimming around, and so you're a fish, and you're oblivious to how important the glass in the water and the glass that keeps the water together is, how important that is to your life. And the glass and the water is like your culture, because the fish's vision is distorted by it, because water like distorts vision. So a culture, it unconsciously dictates our everyday actions, and an example being if an American teenager just bought a Ferrari, he'd probably show it to all his friends and get everyone free joyrides, while if someone of an East Asian background got a Ferrari, he'd probably not reveal it to anyone because that's what Confucius said. So I'm going to talk to you today about the effects of not knowing your culture. George here is going to be talking about why you have to know your own culture to know other cultures, and Calvin, who's not here, so I'm going to do it. We'll talk about how you can learn about your own culture. So, why is knowing your own culture important? Well, to begin with, your culture is what defines you, and if you don't have a culture, you don't really belong anywhere. I mean, you can argue, you can adapt to other cultures, and you can change the way you live, your lifestyle, probably even the way you talk. But there are some things you can never change. For example, no matter how much plastic surgery I get, I will still look Asian. And then you can argue that I can adapt to other cultures like Korean and Japanese. But then I'll have to learn to speak the language fluently, and during that time, I'm not going to be accepted as a Korean or a Japanese person because I won't be able to speak it fluently. And, So knowing your own identity, cultural identity, helps you to belong to a group. And after all, we humans need to belong. And this is more directed at ABCs, Australian-born Chinese. Because first of all, I'd like to ask everyone a question. Put your hands up if you're of Chinese origin here. Now keep your hands up if you can fluently read and write language. Yeah, this is what I expected, because this is the reason why lots of ABCs turn into bananas, because as you get on the outside, white on the inside. Language such as Korean, just because you can speak and write Chinese doesn't mean you can automatically read it. And reading, like, the seminal text of a culture is an important way into discovering what the culture's like. And so not knowing your own culture can lead to really embarrassing situations. So let's just pretend you're going for a job interview. So Ricky here is applying for a job, and Eric is the interviewer.
So you are Chinese? Yes.
And you read and write Chinese?
No, but I'm fluent in Japanese.
I asked you if you knew Chinese.
No, but I can read and
I don't
write
care. I don't care.
So basically, if you by isolating yourself from your own culture, you actually bring shame to your family. I mean, if I told my parents I would never speak Chinese in my whole life, they'd probably say, "What did I do wrong in my past life to deserve a child like you?" And then they'll never talk to me ever again. And so you feel like a foreigner amongst your own family and be treated with scorn by your own people. And to the culture you spent so long trying to adapt to, you'll also be treated as a foreigner because of the way you look. And thus comes a Chinese metaphor by calling people like this a bamboo pipe, because the water inside them doesn't flow or connect to anything. And I know from personal experience how horrible it is to be isolated from your culture, because I used to refuse to speak Chinese to my parents, and I'd get embarrassed if my parents spoke Chinese to me in public. And I actually, at one point, wished I was a Caucasian. And like, how do you expect other people to how can you expect other people to accept you for who you are when you can't even do so yourself? So yeah, but George is going to talk now.
George, as Bob said, I'm going to talk to you about items that come to you. Culture, it's a word that does not discriminate between ethnics, whether you're white, black or yellow, whether you're into K-pop or C-pop. It defines us as individuals and prevents uniformity across people, well, of a group, community, and even country. So why is it important that we know it and preserve our culture for future generations to come? Knowing culture is not the same as reading a book, nor is it as easy as learning a language. Culture covers the way we dress, what we read, what music we listen to, and even as far as what we eat. It is a shadow in our daily lives that subtly affects every decision we make and every action we take. We are governed by its presence and influence, much the same as that of political figures such as Julian. If we do not know even our own culture, our heritage, all we gain from impersonating others. It is our ability to accept our culture that will then allow us to make comparisons with other cultures. For example, you and our friend are talking about today's music.
In this, I'm a Caucasian and he's a Korean. We're not going to go way out because that just wouldn't work. Have you heard the new song?
Which one?
Audio Anthem.
Oh, I listen to K-pop.
And you, my friend, will ask each other about yourself. And by doing so, you'd be sharing your culture and see for yourself the awesomeness of other cultures. Yet, sharing culture is only possible if one knows the culture well, which allows them to decide for themselves what they like and dislike about other cultures, as well as their own. Raise your hands. How many of you believe there's a perfect culture, flawless in all ways? For those of you who know, you would already understand. Already your beliefs and cultures although your beliefs and culture mainly embody positive aspects, there are still negative influences. As Oscar Wilde quoted, the true perfection of man lies in not what man has, but in what man is. As a result, learning other cultures informs us of these ideas, and lets us decide what is good and what is not preferable. We can never combine different aspects of our life that allow us to utilize a healthy and reliable lifestyle. Knowing other cultures is also essential if one is to become knowledgeable about other people and their customs, and also if one is going overseas. By going overseas, a person is agreeing to the laws and traditions of the country they are traveling to. After all, this is how people such as Kevin Rudd, a fluent speaker of English and surprisingly Mandarin, gain a position of success and importance. The final point I am about to make is one that is not uncommon in our society, especially with the rise of pop music and unrealistic standards set by contemporary ideals. Sometimes when people reject the culture and are afraid to talk about it, they lose all their regards for it and seek out another culture in order to cover this up. This can often lead to misconception and often a warped view of other cultures. Not only K-pop, but a spread of Western and other influence. We also decide to follow these people's footsteps. And by doing so, our culture slowly slips out of our grasp, and we are left with one culture where there were two originally. If we do not appreciate our culture and shun it, we cannot appreciate other cultures, even if we do not realize or acknowledge the negative impacts of our decision to embrace another culture. Many of you have probably already found something from a different culture that you appreciate. But answer honestly, how many of you can actually find at least one thing about your culture that you can enjoy? For those of you who cannot, this may be the time to think about what you truly value about it. What is our culture that holds us together? And in order for us to acknowledge these other cultures, our own is the first one to see.
We're not finished yet, sorry. So how can you learn about your own culture? And the most simple way is, well, eating food, like Chinese food if you're Chinese. And traveling to that your ancestral country is also a very good way of learning about your own culture. But the most important way, I think, is to actually learn the language. And learning Chinese or other other Asian language doesn't automatically make you a fop. I mean, I know English, that doesn't mean I'm an Anglophile. So yeah, so learn your own language. It's very important, and it's particularly if you're Chinese, it's pretty useful in later life to know Chinese because, you know, the rise of China and stuff like that.